Hello, everybody. Welcome. I often talk in my videos about people eating too much, too often, and too late in the wrong foods. And I want to break that down a little bit more. And the first one is eating too much. People are eating too much. They're eating too much food. And I've spoken in videos of why they're eating too much food. They're just putting their emotional pleasure over their nutritional needs. Because if you only go by your nutritional needs and you're eating good quality food, you don't need a lot of food. But the question comes is, how much is too much? What is too much food? And so that's the question. And that number might be a little bit different for each person depending on their lifestyle and how active they are or not. But we should all be active in general. So it shouldn't be too much different. We should just seek to be active, exercise if we're not naturally getting that type of activity in our lives. And if we were in nature, we'd be working for our food. We wouldn't be sedative where we're not doing much, we're not doing anything, we're sitting at home and, like most people are that have office jobs. We'd be literally working in the field, in the jungle, working. And even to get our food, we'd be climbing trees. I have fruit trees, they're pretty small. I purposely keep them smaller so it's easier to grab the fruit. But in nature, these foods would be really high up and it would take some work to get them. Coconuts are a great example. I actually cut out some of my coconut trees because they were too high, and I had to either get them with a tall stick or go up there and get them, and then I had to cut them open. Point being is it takes physical activity to work for our food, to actually earn the food. Many people today, they're sedatives. They're not getting up. They're not moving throughout the day. They're not exercising, but they're eating, and they're eating the same amounts as if they were in need of the same amount of food as if somebody who was active. So when you look at how much is too much, you got to look at how active a person truly is or not. And active doesn't mean you get in the car and driving to places. I mean, even going for a walk is more active, but most people don't go for walks these days. When I lived in New York, I saw a lot of people walking there, but you go to other cities and for the most part, the streets are empty. And so the idea of too much food, we should be more thankful for the things that limit us from getting an abundance amount of food. I was just talking to somebody about the cost of food, and it's one of the complaints about eating healthy. People say healthy food costs too much. Well, don't look at it as a negative thing. Think, well, maybe it's limiting you from overeating. Because if we had an abundance amount of food that was inexpensive, I think it would help people overeat even more. And sadly, though, the unhealthy foods are inexpensive, and that does kind of lead me to believe why people eat so much on these unhealthy foods, because they just have flavor, because they're sweetened with sugar or something else, and people can afford them. So we should all be able to have enough money to buy the foods that are healthy for us, considering we don't need much. If we needed a lot, then I could say, well, if the price is too high, then you just can't eat this way. But we don't need much. And, the stomach is supposed to be the size of your fist. And it's become probably one of the most inflamed organs of the body because just the way people eat, the amounts they eat. I mean, we could talk about the way people eat in another video because people don't even know how to eat. They don't chew their food. They don't eat when they're calm, and and they're eating under bad situations emotionally and in the wrong place physically. But in general, of the amount of food we're eating, I don't know back in the 50s how big a plate was. Like if you went to the store and bought a plate, I don't know how big it was. But if you notice, plates are getting bigger and bigger. I'm just talking about empty plates. If you go to Walmart or somewhere and you buy a set of dishes, the plates are bigger and bigger. And then they have the small plates, which are considered the dessert plates or something else, right? And even those are pretty big, getting bigger these days. But the plate's getting bigger and bigger so people can just have more food on their plate, right, at one time. We should eat when we do eat to the point where we're almost full, but not completely full. And then we should walk away. We shouldn't eat till we're so full we can't get up from the table. And I admit I've been guilty of this. And the more conscious I am about this, I'm more aware of this. But of course, we want to make sure we're eating enough, but we should never eat to the point of where you're like most people, like after a Thanksgiving meal, people can't even get up, they're so full. Well, that's how it's become today, where people are after every meal. Whether they're eating McDonald's or they're eating a Thanksgiving meal, they're just so overburdened with just after they eat. They're so tired and stuff. You shouldn't feel tired after you eat. If you're tired after you eat, most likely you ate too much. So we should eat enough, but not so much where we're full. We want to stop right before we're full. And considering we don't need much, maybe determine how much you're going to eat and stop it there. And you could leave yourself a little wiggle room, but don't go back for plate after plate after plate. And people often do that with desserts, right? This is the reason why buffets are so popular today, because, you might as well have a sign saying overeaters welcome. And so I just want you to be more conscious and aware about the amount of food you're eating. Now, the type of food is going to determine the amount of food. For example, if you're eating bread, it's definitely easier to overeat on bread than it is watermelon. Watermelon has a high content of water in it. It fills people up quicker. And even if you eat more than you need, it's pretty much water and some fiber, and it tastes delicious. As bread, if you eat and eat and eat, now you're eating something that's like drinking a dry sponge. There's no fiber in this, unless depending on what type of grain you're getting, but it's pretty much refined grains, no fiber, not healthy. And then animal meat. People put so much seasonings and spices on the meats, and be careful with seasoning spices. But season and spices in savory meals and refined sugar in sweet meals are some of the things or the tricks the advertisers make for people to overeat. You see, there are advertisers that spend their lifetime and their whole career trying to get you to do things that'll buy their product. And the more of the product they buy, the more of the product you buy, the better it is for them. So if no one overate, this is going to hurt them in the wallet. So they're going to try to find the things that are known to make people desire more. This is what people often do with, or the companies do with, I believe, soda. Some people call it pop. They put some chemicals in there to make it just not satisfy your hunger, but to just make you want to crave more and more and more. The refined sugar, along with the other chemicals and just that spark of water, the little bubbles, just makes you want to have more. It's hard to stop. One of the things I used to overeat on a lot was pizza. And with pizza, I would have Pepsi. That was the Brooklyn thing, pizza and Pepsi. And you just can't stop eating both of those things. I mean, it's you talk about getting full where you can't even get up from your seat. So think about that. Another thing you got to be careful with is potato dishes. And I guess it's, you want to be careful in general with refined carbohydrates, because they fill you up quickly, but they also give you a desire to continue to want more. And it's very easy to overeat on refined carbohydrates. Simple carbohydrates and fruits, it's not as easy to overeat on them. And even if you are, there's a lot of leeway, because it's mostly water if you're eating sweet fruits. One of the common things people in the so-called health area overeat on is fats, particularly nuts and seeds, in every form you could think of. Nuts and seeds, and there's nothing hidden in nuts and seeds. Some of the issues with the nuts and seeds, I mean, sometimes they might be in certain recipes and things like this, but just you got to think about the nuts and seeds in general. Roasted nuts and seeds are definitely more, I don't want to say appetizing, but I'll say more appealing. It makes it harder to stop. The more you denature a food, the harder it is to stop. But think about in nature, like almonds, for example. It takes a lot of work to get an almond, to break it open, and to consume that almond. It takes a lot of work. And if you were going to eat, let's say, a half a pound of almonds, that might take you all day to crack all those open and eat those. But the fact that you can go to the store and buy pounds and pounds of almonds and eat them, that's not a good thing. And almonds too are dried. You're better off soaking them, all nuts and seeds. But we want to be conscious about that. Now, as the sun's coming up here, let me get ready to finish this video and just say, I just want to remind you all to be conscious about the amount of food you're eating. Think about the body and think about the example of the machine, how much work you're putting on a machine. Don't stress your organs out so much where you're making them work harder than you have to. Key is, when it comes to diet, is to giving your body the amount it needs without having to work extra hard to get the nutrients out of it, and to leave very little waste left over. So these are things you'd want to consider. So think about what you're eating. Maybe even most people don't realize what they eat, but write it down. Do a food journal. And then maybe you'll see, like, wow, I ate a lot of food. When you think about the stomach trying to be the size of your fist, and you think about how much food you're eating and how much food you're sticking in there, and that comes too much, too often, too late, and the wrong food. Well, too much is the first thing. Eating it too much. Eat less. Eat healthier food, and you don't need much, and you're going to do fine. And don't eat till you're full. All right? Put your comments and questions, your thoughts about this down. Thank you for watching. Everybody have a great day and a great raw life.
Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show.